I'm AC Pin, and this is about the feed hanger mock that I've done back in 2012, believe it or not. It has made a round of shows, but the other thing is, DK Publishing at one point actually got in touch with me to try to get it in the book. Now, a lot of us get spam email, and one of these emails actually winded up in my spam folder. Now, a lot of times I wouldn't even open that, that spam folder. I'll just empty spam, and that's it. But one particular day, there were probably just about 10 or so in that spam folder. So I opened it, and boom, one of the emails that I got had a subject that said, Lego Star Wars updated visual dictionary. And there were only two things that I thought. One of my friends was pranking me. And then the other one is, could this be real? Okay, but this is, the true story about it. I still have the email. Now, when I opened it, and of course, you have to be careful with all of the spam that we're getting. Otherwise, you're going to get a virus in your laptop. I hovered on everything, and even with the editor-in-chief who got in touch with me, and I Googled the name, they were all legit. All of the links were legit. And I was thinking, why the hell are they trying to get in touch with me? So we exchanged a few emails and that stuff. And it turns out the way the email was phrased was somebody from the Lego group pointed them my way to get some of my mocks featured. So this was the mock that they chose out of like 6 mocks that I actually, gave them. So this is the final battle scene in episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And what I tried to do is essentially get all of the essential iconic, scenes rolled into one. So you'll see that a lot of the Naboo starfighters a couple of them are already in flight. Anakin is, of course, trying to pilot one. And way on the other end, you'll see the queen, princess at that time, trying to, get out of the way from the battle scene that, the final duel that's going to happen. So the thought process on this was one of also the other builds that I did for Eurobrick's community build for the particular movie. Yeah. And the thing is, since I'm actually the community leader, I had to build something big so that, the other members get inspired with it. It's amazing how something it's already like now about 4 years old since this was done, way back in 2012, that it kind of evolved and has kind of taken a life of its own, because everybody recognizes, when I go to shows and that stuff, that, they know this particular one. And the icing on the cake is the fact that, it got published in the Lego Star Wars Visual Dictionary. And last December, it also got published in the Brick Journal magazine.
That's awesome. And how was it like getting published in Brick Journal? That's a pretty big honor.
Definitely, because Brick Journal, as everybody knows, is the primary media where AFOLs like us want to have their creations, featured. So it's essentially, kind of bragging rights in a way, but it's also an affirmation that the AFOL community, recognizes, your work. So
that's something right at that point, right? Yeah. And I love, this is an amazing touch that you've done. You've blown up some of the pages from Brick Journal, and you have them on display. Yeah. Talk about that. That's amazing.
Well, not gonna take the credit for that because my wife was the one who had the idea to actually, well, you bring it to the shows. But the thing is, if you bring the magazine, it's very hard for people to read. So much like in the movies, you got like, a poster of the actual scene of the actual movie. So she mentioned, why don't you try to get, something like that?
So you'll never see it anywhere else. So take a look at this. Brick Journal right here. This is a Brick Journal, 1-to-1 scale, the real thing. And then look up a little bit and whoa, massive poster. That is totally cool. When you display this, do you see people, their eyes kind of dart to this and then they go, wow.
Well, here's the other thing, though we're talking about it different.
Yeah.
In the previous shows, that's how people actually saw this particular mark. So the problem is they couldn't relate in a way like how the set that the lighting is. So yesterday, made a quick trip to Walmart.
It's in the parking lot here at BrickFair, Virginia.
It's just across. But
and now the lighting is right.
The lighting is right.
That's awesome.
One of the detail that a lot of people miss on this one because you don't see it right away is I actually tell people if they're interested is you have to kneel down because there's a chandelier, in the ceiling.
That's awesome. And so this build right here and your other build were both featured in Brick Journal number 37.
In the same issue. There were a couple more builds that were actually featured, but unfortunately, those have been deconstructed a long time ago.
Turned into Lego parts again.
Oh yeah, some of these parts are actually, in this other bit. And that's actually one of the other things that I mentioned to, people why I went with Lego, because you could easily recycle, reuse, the same parts, for other mocks.
It's not like clay pottery, right? Where you make a pot once and you're done. It's over.
Yeah, well...
Lego, you do it again and again and again and again.
Well, a lot of people don't know that before I did Lego, I was actually doing action figure dioramas. And I'm a Star Wars fan, and I've been doing, my tag name AC Pin from way back was in the boards for action figures, Star Wars action figures. And actually, I was also a moderator in Sir Steve's Guide, which is also a primary, forum for action figure, Star Wars action figure enthusiasts. So I was getting, to the point like, I do these action figure dioramas, but the thing is, I use styrofoam, paint, molding, and all of that stuff, but they can only be used once. And after a while, they age, and you have to throw them away. My 3 sons, I have 3 sons who are, who like playing with Lego. And once Lego started doing, the Star Wars sets, then, I started actually helping them out, doing these builds. So whenever people say, when did you start doing this? I said, no, I blame my sons for this because they were the ones who had, all of the Lego sets and, whom I've helped them build. The problem is, as they grew up and went to high school, they had other interests, and
you're like, that Lego's pretty cool. I think I'll keep going.
Yeah. Well, my thought was, what am I gonna do with all of this Lego now? And then I started. It's a hobby that I tell people, because when they ask how long a build takes and that stuff, and I said, it takes like this particular piece took 3 months, but the only reason why it took 3 months was I was doing it during my spare time. So, it's a hobby and, you do it whenever you have the free time.
Totally.
So,
very cool. You do a lot of amazing stuff with the Lego hobby, AC. Your builds are amazingly inspirational. The stories behind them, how you display them. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Wonderful, wonderful stuff.
Thank you as well.